everyone, welcome to Odds Premier League Match Day 13. Thanks God, international break is over. Adam is telling us, I'm sure Tom Rennie agrees. I do agree with him, and there cannot be a better way to start the Premier League, Tom, with a Man City Liverpool.
Yeah, I think this might well be more likely to be a title decider than a game between City and Arsenal. So, what a game.
Yeah, you've been saying the whole season that you see Liverpool as the main title contender for Man City. So let's not waste any time because I want to know Tom's opinions about this game, about all 10 Premier League games in this match day 13. So guys, remember, ask any question, press the like and subscribe. And now let's go on with the show. If you are looking for a bookmaker to sign up, perhaps to bet on this Man City Liverpool, we have an exclusive offer with 1xBet. Grab 130% off bonus. Well, Tom, a lot of injuries over the international break, as Nabil is telling us. I suffered a lot because Real Madrid players got injured, but also in Man City, I believe Haaland is still doubtful for this game. Kovacic got injured. For Liverpool for the strikers, was a good international break because we saw Luis Diaz scoring a brace against Brazil. We saw Darwin Núñez scoring again with Uruguay against Argentina, and we left the Premier League with a thrilling 4-4 against Man City with Chelsea. These kind of games that make us love the Premier League. This could be another thriller.
Yeah, it could. It really could. I think these are the two best teams in English football this season. Obviously, Man City, in my view, way above everybody else. But Liverpool are spectacular at times. I think it's clear they haven't quite hit their full stride. It's clear some of these players don't know each other intrinsically in the same way the old team did and the current Man City team do. But the signings they have made, the incredible player that is Dominic Szoboszlai in midfield, the erratic but impressive form of Darwin Núñez, the fact so many players have been fit this season for Liverpool, which is totally different to the previous campaign. Even if you think about the last season, Jordan Henderson fading light, Fabinho was nowhere near the player he was. They can bring in players like Wanda Ouattara now. And you're like, oh, actually, that's a really good backup player to play in certain games. Harvey Elliott growing every single year. You know, I think Liverpool look really, really strong. And I think this is going to be our title race. I think Arsenal are going to be in it for a long time, but these two are the strongest two teams in it. In terms of Manchester City, Erling Haaland's going to be fit. Okay, look, I know I'm not giving you insider information here, okay? I've not been on the phone to the Norwegian FA to find out what's been happening, but their final game was a dead rubber. He twisted his ankle a little bit. I would be staggered if Erling Haaland didn't play some part in this game. They've done this to us 1 or 2 times recently. Oh, is Haaland fit? Is Haaland fit? Yeah, Haaland's fit. So I've a lot of confidence that he is going to be able to play in this game. He's had a good, what are we talking, 8 to 10 days off between the injury and this particular game. So I think he'll be available. Kovacic, I think, is unlikely, but is that a massive loss? I don't know. Still no Kevin De Bruyne. 1 or 2 others, doubts Nathan Ake and the goalkeeper. But I think everyone beyond De Bruyne and Kovacic will be fit. That's a very strong Manchester City. The interesting thing about City this year, which is worth noting, which is going to lead into my bet here, is they're conceding goals. This is not a season where they're winning games, X amount of goals to 0. And so, if you're a fantasy football player, you don't put Edison in goal right now for City because they keep conceding a squeaky one here and there. 12 goals conceded by City is actually pretty high. It's more goals conceded than Liverpool. It's more goals conceded than Arsenal. It's a couple of goals less than Tottenham Hotspur. And it's only 1 goal less than Newcastle, who find themselves 7th in the Premier League table. And look, the numbers are skewed a bit by 4 goals conceded against Chelsea in the last game. I get that. But still, they don't usually concede 4 goals in any game. So I think it's worth noting there are some defensive issues right now about Manchester City. And you see that in recent games too. In the last 5 games, they've conceded at least 1 goal. So that shows you there is a great opportunity here for both teams to score bets. And again, look at the scoring market as well. Number 1 scorer in the league is Manchester City. Number 3 scorer in the league is Liverpool with 27 goals. And Liverpool's recent run, a 3-0 victory, a 3-0 victory, a 2-0 victory, a 2-2 draw. Only in one of the previous 5 have they not scored multiple goals in a game. So I'm going to go goals. I'm not going to go a wild amount of goals because usually these games get tighter and tighter and tighter as the season goes on. And we are no longer in the beginning of the season. We are slap bang in the middle. The hard yards of the season come between November and January. So what are we looking at here? I think you're going to pick a winner. I go for Manchester City to win because Man City are the home team and just 2 losses all season, 9 victories suggests that's the most likely outcome. Liverpool's away form has also not been particularly spectacular this season. They find themselves in terms of the away table in 7th with 3 draws and only 2 wins across the 6 away games they've had. So I'm not going to go Liverpool win on form guide alone, but I'm going to take Man City to win and both teams to score. That brings you in at 2.88, just under the 2-1 threshold I'm always trying to look for here in likely bets. A couple of other things I'll pick out here. Man City win and take under 3.5 goals in the match. That's the equivalent to 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. It's not particularly daring, but again, brings us to the threshold I really like. Double your money bets. And just to keep it basic, I won't discount the draw here as well. I'm not going to go Liverpool, but draw was 4.2. Now, that's risen to 4.6 as we record this. It might get up to 5 by the time the game kicks off on Saturday morning. So a draw between these 2 teams, who are the best 2 teams in the country, in my opinion, I wouldn't discount that as well. I haven't picked out individual markets here for players, but if you want that, obviously Haaland to score multiple times, obviously Mo Salah to score and assist. You double up a Salah or a Haaland with a score, you'll make some money.
Well, the draw is very good value, Tom. Viper and Viper is telling you the both teams to score doesn't pay much is 1.5, but for instance, both teams to score in the first half is 3.7, which could be also a good idea if we start seeing goals immediately in this Man City Liverpool. Last season was 4-1, by the way, for Man City. What a game, this one. Let me know in the comments who are you backing. The value, of course, is on Liverpool, 4.6 for them to win this game. By the way, Tom, I like your jumper. Very nice one.
I'm going on a date with my wife after this. We're going to see the movie Napoleon at the cinema. So I'm dressed up all night.
It's already released. Yeah, that should be a very good movie. Nice jumper to go on a date. Oh. Next game, Tom, Burnley, West Ham. West Ham to win 2.17 against a rubbish team like Burnley, bottom of the table with only 4 points. I guess it's a good idea to back West Ham, only because they are playing against Burnley.
Oh, I'm not sure it's ever a good idea to back West Ham, if I'm honest, because they're just so inconsistent, right? They've got 2 away wins this season, but they've lost the last 3. And in that 3 of games, they should not have lost against Brentford. They should have got something at Liverpool. And to be fair, Villa completely wiped the floor with them. But the Brentford game was typical of West Ham this season. They're conceding poor goals, but they're scoring great goals. Mohamed Kudus should be fit. There was some discussion of him not being fit in midweek, but he came on for Ghana, I think, on Wednesday. So he should be all right. Jarrod Bowen withdrew from the England squad, but we expect him to be in the squad for this one. Top scorer, vital player for West Ham. Mikel Antonio will be out for the Hammers, though. Beyond that, it's a pretty clean bill of health from their last game. In terms of Burnley, they're a poor team. At home this season, the worst ever start to a Premier League season by any team in history. 6 games, 6 defeats, 4 goals scored, 18 conceded. Now, they will beat somebody at some point, but I don't know if it's going to be this one. It's certainly not something I'm going to put my money on. Why? Because until I've seen it, it's not something I will back to happen. They're conceding so many goals. They have scored in most of the games. A 3-1 loss against Aston Villa, a 2-5 loss against Tottenham, a 1-4 loss against Chelsea. Yes, the 2-0 one against Crystal Palace and 0 scored against Man U as well. Skews the numbers a little bit, but they do seem to get a consolation goal in games, and West Ham will give you a consolation goal because for whatever reason, they switch off in matches. So I'm going West Ham win. 2.17 for West Ham. It's not quite worth it. It's a little bit under the threshold I'm looking for. So I take West Ham win and both teams to score, because West Ham have a diabolical defensive record this season, both home and away. One of the worst defenses in the league this season, with 22 goals conceded. I've mentioned already Burnley have got consolations in 3 of 5. So take West Ham win, both teams score, brings you in at a really, really juicy 3.75, which, to go to the worst team in the country and get a win, that's pretty high, I think. So I'm going to snap your arm off for that. Couple of other bets I picked out here. West Ham to have 7 corners in the match on average. They get above 5. That brings you in at 3.25. It's a real basic bet, but they play for corners, so look out for it. Also, West Ham, if they're going to win, Thomas Souček in great form right now, scoring in Premier League games, scored for the Czech Republic a couple of days ago. Souček scores and West Ham win, brings you in at 7. That's ludicrously high for something that's quite likely. And if you fancy Burnley, and I wouldn't discount it, I'm not going to bet on it, but if you want to, Burnley win, both teams score. West Ham will score in this game, 6.5.
Well, West Ham is the second best team in the league in both teams to score. 10 out of 12 games ended with both teams to score for West Ham. The best one is Brighton. All of their games ended in both teams to score. Next game, Luton Town, Crystal Palace. Same odds for Crystal Palace to win as West Ham, 2.2 more or less, but perhaps we see Luton Town getting some points here. They are getting better and better. They only lost 1-0 in Old Trafford, drew with Liverpool 1-1. Surely, Tom, well, not surely, but very likely this is a low-scoring game.
Oh, I think so. Absolutely a low-scoring game. In terms of scorers, Crystal Palace, with a brilliant away record this season, have only scored 8 goals in those away games. As for Luton Town, just 4 home goals all season, no victories. It screams it. Look at the trends. You have to go with that until something extraordinary happens. In terms of Luton, look, they are getting a bit better, but I always think of that great Bill Shankly misquote, which he used to say about West Ham United when he was Liverpool manager. And he used to say, good club, family club, 3 points. And I wouldn't necessarily say good club, family club about Luton, but I would say everyone wants them to do well, 3 points. So don't look at Luton here until they win a home game. Don't back them to win a home game. Crystal Palace, very good on the road this season. Palace win, under 2.5 goals in the match, brings you in at a staggering 4.33. That is really high for a 1-0 or 2-0 victory for Crystal Palace. You can also take Crystal Palace to win without conceding at 3.5. I like that as well. And as you know, I love a group bet. And this is 1-0, 2-0, or 2-1 Crystal Palace. All very, very likely scorelines. You get that for double your money at 3s.
We have here some believers of Luton. Kevin going for Luton Town, double chance, and also Nabel going for Luton here. Difficult to back Luton with their record, but right now they are out of the relegation spots because Everton are now dragged in the battle after this deduction of points. Next game, Newcastle-Chelsea. What a game. Is the best game in this time right now. With perhaps we could see a surprise, or the odds tell us that Chelsea now is becoming dangerous. They are improving. They beat Tottenham away. That great draw against Man City. The issue is that Newcastle, they are so strong at home. They win almost every game apart from the game against Liverpool, even winning without conceding. So if we follow the stats and we back Newcastle also, Tom, we have great odds, 2.6.
Yes, look, this is the only bet I'm going to pick out this weekend that doesn't follow the trends. It's the only one. And the reason is the eyeball test. I watched the Bournemouth game. I worked on the Bournemouth game before the international break, and they are incredibly depleted, Newcastle United. Now, the most recent injury report I've got, injury and suspension report, tells me no Tonali, no Murphy, no Byrne, no Wilson, no Anderson, no Botman, no Barnes, no Hall, no Miguel Almiron potentially. Fabian Schär is a doubt. Alexander Isak is out. No Manquillo, no Target. I mean, that is ludicrous. That is absolutely ludicrous. The good news is Bruno Guimaraes is back, so he'll replace the 17-year-old Lewis Miley, who played in midfield in the Bournemouth game, which might skew it a little bit. But the amount of players out, I don't know what kind of Newcastle we're going to get. And the trends tell you, yes, it should be Newcastle United. At home, they are terrific. Anthony Gordon has been a real talismanic figure this season, 5 victories in their 6 games. But Chelsea at 2.9, it's just grabbing me. It's just grabbing me. Look, Are Chelsea impressive? No, they're not impressive. And I almost want to guard against betting on Chelsea. But look at the away table this season. Away from home, the three best teams in the Premier League. Number 1, Tottenham Hotspur. Number 2, Manchester City. Number 3 is Chelsea. 5 games, 3 victories, 11 goals scored, 3 away wins in a row, and taking them at just under double your money. That's it for me. I don't want to get too complicated here. Chelsea win at 2.9. That's my top tip. I just fancy it. I fancy it because of Newcastle's injury issues. I fancy it because of Chelsea's recent improvement. I fancy it because of the form of the likes of Cole Palmer. I fancy it because Christopher Nkunku, though he's not going to play, back in training, gives everyone a lift. And you don't get Chelsea double your money. And you won't get it for much longer. So this might be the week to take it. 2 other quick bets for you. Half-time draw and Chelsea win at full-time. That brings you in at 7. The reason I take that is because Chelsea can make changes. Newcastle won't be able to. And also low scoring. Chelsea win under 2.5 goals in the match brings you in at 6.5. That's just looking at the games that Chelsea have been involved in across the season. Most of them have been under 3.5, but you bring it in under 2.5. I think there's a likelihood there. But my top 2, Chelsea win on its own and draw and Chelsea at full time.
Well, Tom, you said at the beginning that you were against the popular opinion, and our audience agree with you. Most of the people are going with Chelsea, tempted to put the money on Chelsea with these odds. We are seeing that the odds for Chelsea to win are dropping and dropping, so be quick and place your bet if you want to grab this great 2.9. Even right now, I'm looking at 2.8. Next game is Nottingham Forest, Brighton, perhaps also good value if we go for a draw, which won't be surprising if Brighton is involved. No victories in the last 6 Premier League games with 4 draws. Remember, all the games were both teams to score. For Brighton, Forest, Tom, lost to West Ham but won the last home game against Aston Villa.
Forest are so tricky. They're a real tricky team to assess because I actually think they're quite good and their home form suggests a good team. No defeats in 5, 2 victories, 3 draws in that time. A big fan of people like Towo Awoniyi up front. I think he's really impressive. I like Morgan Gibbs-White. I think Murillo might be injured at centre-half, but I think he's a good, young, interesting player. Lots to like about them. Plus, the goalkeeper, I'll butcher this, Vlachodimos Odysseus. Amazing name. I love that. Is that right? Oh, so close. I didn't have the notes in front of me, but I love it. I love his name. I think he's a crap goalkeeper, but I love his name. So I hope he stays in goal in front of poor old Matt Turner forever. But anyway, I was impressed by Forest at points against West Ham a couple of weeks ago, but you can tell they aren't how to put this, top half Premier League quality team. They are not a relegation team, but they belong somewhere 12th to 16th, and that's where they'll end up. In terms of Brighton, they keep on doing it, don't they? They keep on upsetting the odds. They keep on surprising us, even with no Danny Welbeck, no Solly March, still no Enciso, Dahoud suspended, Lamptey is out, Estupinian is out, Milner is out, Lewis Dunk is out, Evan Ferguson injured again. You'd still back them, right? You'd still back them because they find a way to do it. Look, I think their most likely outcome here, looking at Forest, with 3 draws at home this season, very difficult to beat at home. Brighton and Hove Albion, a team that always compete in games, 2 victories, 1 draw on the road this season. Just take the draw. Screams draw to me, 3.8. Lovely stuff. Take that, run home with it. I think it screams 1-1 draw. There's a lot of recent Brighton games, though at home, have been. I'll take it. And you mentioned both teams to score. You're absolutely right to highlight that. Draw and both teams score brings it up to 4.3. That'll probably get higher as you get towards the weekend. If you were to pick a winner, I probably would side with Forest, and that's Forest, both teams to score, 5.5. So absolutely both teams to score. I would go just for Forest. You might want to double chance this, but it screams draw, if I'm honest.
Well, it's only 1.65, both teams to score, because the bookies know the stats as well.
Yep.
But the draw pays well, 3.8 is good value, of course, in the draw. Next game, Sheffield United, Bournemouth. Perhaps this is also a good idea to back the draw, because Bournemouth, they are really favorites, 2.2, still no victories away from home. Sheffield United grabbed a point against Brighton and beat Wolves before that game. So I don't see Bournemouth as favorite, no, here.
No, I'm not taking it for 2.38. Absolutely. I don't think that's worthwhile. And look, frankly, just seeing Sheffield United at 3.5, just under, that might be, I wasn't going to pick that out, but seeing it now, I actually think that's not too bad, considering the results you have mentioned, the fighting spirit they have shown. They don't have a lot of Premier League quality, but if they are to be in the race to stay in the Premier League when we get to April, May, they have to win this game. And so maybe the power of Bramall Lane, maybe the motivation from recent results will give them a lift here. 3.7 for the draw. I like that a lot. The only thing I'll pick out here, because I think this is one to avoid, frankly, because very difficult in a relegation scrap to decide what's going to happen. Probably under the 2.5 threshold, and draw is what I'm looking at. Draw at 3.6, 3.7. It's quite nice here. If you are to take Bournemouth, and the reason I'm going to pick this is I love this individual player and the form he has had this season. Bournemouth to win this match and Dominic Solanke to score. Dominic Solanke has 6 goals in the Premier League this season already. Now, that is really impressive for a team who don't do too much. I think he'll be a target for many teams come the January transfer window, certainly in the summer. Solanke scores any time and Bournemouth win, brings you in at 4. There's not much in this game, and so that's the only thing beyond the draw itself that I can find here that is going to be worth your time. But I'll personally be going draw.
All right, Bournemouth double chance and over 2 goals for Chinonso. Adam is going for Sheffield United double chance, and Keynes is telling us to run away from this one. For sure, we want to watch this game. This is for sure. There are more better games in this time frame. And the last game on Saturday is an interesting one. Brentford Arsenal, because Brentford, they lost to Liverpool, but before that game, they won the previous 3, including Chelsea or West Ham and Arsenal. They had a big chance to get closer to Man City or Liverpool because they are playing against each other. And away from home, they lost to Newcastle. They drew with Chelsea, so they need to get the 3 points here.
What a game. What a game this will be this weekend. Saturday has some crackers, which is why you should absolutely avoid the Sheffield United match. And this has given us such entertainment, this game, over the last couple of seasons. Brentford's first game up, the revenge victories for Arsenal, the Twitter beef with Ivan Toney and Gabriel and others, nice kickabout with the lads and all that sort of stuff. Terrific game. I love Brentford. I really do, because I think they have the second now lowest value squad in the league, maybe third alongside Sheffield United. They do not make big flashy signings. They've been shorn of Ivan Toney all season. They sold David Raya when they only had Flecken in to replace him. It was a massive downgrade. Ben Mee at centre-half coming in at 32, 33 and then being incredible in midfield. You know, I could go on and on about this. Johan Wissa, I don't think he'd get a Premier League game for any other club in the country, and yet starts every week and has a pretty decent scoring record. And also I found out this week that Brian Mbeumo is not 40. He's like 23. He looks so old. So what an impressive player he is for his age as well. You can throw in now as well. I think he's going to have a massive career. Brian Mbeumo has been extraordinary this season. So a lot of love for Brentford. And as they showed against West Ham, they can play a team of better quality players and just beat them. Beat them because their crossing accuracy and scoring from headers is extraordinary. Always look, if you're betting on Brentford, to score a header, because in terms of crossing accuracy and finishing from headers, there is no one better in the country. The trouble is here they're playing an Arsenal team who I think have to hit rhythm now. They have to hit a run. They are on a run of, I think, 1 draw in the last 5 in terms of home games, 1 loss in the last of 5 across home and away. It's 1 defeat this season, but it's 3 draws in that time. They're 1 point behind City, but now's the time. If you're going to be champions this year and beat the sovereign wealth fund of Manchester City, you have to win 10 or 12 in a row from November through to February, right? You do that, you've got a chance. If you lose games like this, you ain't going to be champions. 1 or 2 injury notes for Arsenal. There's some doubts about Fabio Vieira. Forgive me, he's suspended. Thomas Partey is the doubt. Martin Odegaard a doubt because of his concussion issues, though they say he should be fit. Ben White, there's some doubts about him as well. And there's no Raya in this game. He can't play against his parent club. And Fabio Vieira suspended as well for the red card in the last game. So 1 or 2 players out. And it's worth noting that Ramsdale is going to play. And Arteta seems to have done whatever he can to just break down Aaron Ramsdale as a person, destroy his confidence. And now he's got to play in a really important game. So it's tricky here, really tricky. I have faith in Arsenal. I still have faith in Arsenal. Look at their away form this season. 1-0 against Crystal Palace, 1-0 against Everton, 4-0 against Bournemouth, 2-2 draw against Chelsea, and that controversial loss against Newcastle, which probably should have been a goalless draw. So very few goals conceded, lots of wins. Look at those trends. I fancy Arsenal to win, and I've picked out a lovely group bet here. Arsenal 1-0, Arsenal 2-0, or Arsenal 2-1. You get that for just under the 2-1 threshold, 3.0, 2.88 right now. That'll get it to 2-1. I'll snap your arm off for a double your money bet for 3 scorelines for Arsenal this weekend. One of them, 2-1, the most common scoreline in football. The other one I'll pick out is Arsenal to win without conceding, which they had done in 3 of their 5 away games this season. You get that at 3. Again, you double your money bet. I like Brentford. If they are to score, it will be from a cross and a header. But with Gabriel, with Saliba, with probably Ben White, I think they can defend crosses better than, say, West Ham did a couple of weeks ago.
Well, Chinonso, Queens, Thando, all going for Arsenal to win. Only Adams is value in the draw. Well, there is value, that's for sure. But if you think there is going to be a draw, you get good money. Arsenal, they have to win. They have also an important game in the Champions League. But before, of course, they have to focus also in the Premier League. Next game is a good one. Tottenham, Aston Villa, because after a perfect start, we are seeing Spurs losing against Wolves. We didn't see that against Chelsea. And now they have this uncomfortable game. It's true that Aston Villa, they are way stronger at home, but the way they can be very dangerous. For instance, they beat Chelsea. This could be an upset again for Tottenham.
And if Tottenham had their full 11 available to them, I would go Tottenham win. I would go Tottenham win because they have been really good at home this season, as you've mentioned. 4 victories in the 5. The 1 defeat was the weird anomaly of the Chelsea game. But it's an ongoing narrative here. Let me read you this. Who's unavailable for Tottenham going into this game? No Perisic, no Van de Ven, no Maddison, no Sessegnon, no Solomon, no Richarlison, no Romero, no Bissouma, no Udogie. That's half the team. And Tottenham don't have a massively deep squad. They run with about 14 or 15 top players, and they've lost 7 or 8 of them. So what are we going to get? And James Maddison's so important to them as well. He gets the best out of Kulusevski, the best out of Son Heung-min. So loads of issues there with Tottenham Hotspur. Despite their really good home form at the moment, I don't have the confidence with my own money to back them to win a game of football. With Aston Villa, you're absolutely right to point out the dichotomy between their home form, which is spectacular, and the away form, which is okay, but middling. I think they'd be 13th or so in the away form table, 2 victories, 1 draw, and 3 defeats in that time. And they were really poor against Nottingham Forest in their last away game. But that all being said, I just don't know about Tottenham right now. I don't know about them defensively without Romero and Van de Ven. I don't know about them offensively without James Maddison. And for Aston Villa, really good offensive players. Ollie Watkins, obviously, spectacular footballer in my view. Quite rightly, Harry Kane's back up going into the European Championship. Moussa Diaby, I think, is brilliant. And they almost play the 4-2-2-2 formation that Ralph Rangnick tried to do a couple of years ago, but a lot of teams are doing now. It's good that Rangnick should bring him back. So, you know, I think I've got to go Villa win. I'm going to take Villa win on a group bet. I'm going to take it on a group bet here at 5. Villa win 1-0, 2-0, or 2-1 at 5. That'll be my top tip here. But also just Villa to win at 2.92. I really, really like. A near double your money bet on a Villa win against beleaguered Tottenham. If Tottenham win this, when we come back next week, I won't do this line anymore. But right now, I see a broken team. And they might do something spectacular that I can't predict here this weekend, and I'll change everything. But right now, it's a broken team with the key players missing bar one, and Aston Villa, with this manager, with this good feeling behind them, with this opportunity, I think they can go there and win. Villa win group bet, Villa win straight up, and Villa win both teams to score brings you in at 4.33 as well. There is 3 really juicy Villa bets, and I can't avoid them.
Well, Queens is telling us screams goals, and also most of the people back Aston Villa. Only Chinonso is going for Tottenham. Gaurap is telling us that Aston Villa is really shit away. Well, they are not that shit. The thing is that they are very strong playing at home and away. They grabbed already some victories, so they are not as
They're
rubbish.
average. They're average away. They're not great, but they are average. But this is a huge target for them.
A couple of victories away, and they have the Champions League spots at the tip of their fingers. If they beat Tottenham, they will be in the top 4. And then we have Everton, Man United. I guess everyone was talking in England, Tom, about this points deduction of Everton. Now they are in the bottom 3 with only 4 points. What Man City would think with this point deduction. Everton, they were great before this, getting 10 points out of the last 12, beat Palace, beat West Ham, drew with Brighton. Man United was still rubbish, even if they beat Luton and Fulham. So perhaps we see a surprise here and Everton get points.
Tricky game. I mean, we won't rehash the entire Everton story here, but I think this is a great time to be docked 10 points this season. Last season, they would have gone down. There was 3 teams last year who went down, who this season I think would stay up because of the poor quality of the teams that have come up, plus this year's Bournemouth. So great time because Everton are still going to stay up this season with a 10-point deduction. I saw from our friends at Opta a couple of days ago, their likelihood of relegation is like 3%. So I think they will stay up still. I think this will be a tough game for them. I think there'll be a real siege mentality about Everton right now in what is potentially their final full season at Goodison Park as well. So, yeah, look, if you fancy Everton here, go for it. The reason I'm not going to do it is because of the home form. They have climbed the table in recent weeks off the back of really impressive away victories. At home, 4 defeats already this season, just 5 goals scored, 3 of which came against Bournemouth, who are atrocious. So how do they score goals remains an ongoing issue for Everton. If Man United decide to sit deep, which I think they will, and hit on the counter-attack, this might be a really turgid affair, separated by a moment of quality. In my mind, I'm thinking the Fulham game, the Man United-Fulham game, where nothing really happens, very attritional, not particularly entertaining, and then Bruno Fernandes does something in the last couple of minutes that gets Manchester United the win. So at the moment, I'm not confident to back Everton at all for Manchester United. Lots of players out, worth noting that. No Casemiro, no Martinez, no Eriksen. Doubts about Rasmus Højlund. No, I think he will be fit. Johnny Evans is out. Wan-Bissaka is a doubt. Still no Malacia. Onana missing. So that's good news for Man United. Luke Shaw might make a comeback. Still no Sancho in the squad as well for those personal reasons. So they are relatively depleted. I think this will be a game with under 15 shots in it. I think it'll be a game with very few goals. I'm going to take Man United to win it and be quite conservative and say under 3.5 goals in the game. Now, that brings you in at 3.5. Again, I'm always trying to find here 2-1 bets. Man United to win an under 3.5 goals in the game. I think that's extraordinarily good odds for a very likely outcome. You can just take Man United to win. You don't normally get Man U around that number, so I would take that. If you want to go under 2.5 goals in the game, that's 1-0, that's 2-0. That brings you in at 5.5. That's incredible to me. Having looked at Man U odds for like a decade, you don't get things like this very often. Yes, they're as bad as they have ever been, but that's really good, and I'm taking it.
Indeed, the odds are very, very high for Man United to win, 2.6. I was checking the odds for the Champions League game against Galatasaray, and they are slightly higher, 2.8, but I guess it's even tougher winning in Istanbul. So very good odds if you are a Red Devil fan and you want to bet on your Man United. I wouldn't do it, but yeah, there is a lot of value in there. And Tom, one more game for Monday evening, Fulham Wolves, only 1 point in the last 4 games for Fulham. For Wolves, beat Spurs, as we said in the last game. This could be the classic goalless draw, and avoid watching Monday evening and go to the cinema to watch Napoleon in case you haven't done it yet.
Well, I'll give you a full review tonight and let you know if it's worthwhile. But I mean, look, Fulham are not a great team this year. I think losing Mitrovic was a massive blow to them. They have not replaced him well in Vinicius and Jimenez up front. I think they've been pretty middling to poor. In this particular game, is it Carvalho, the striker, who has got himself injured? So he's not going to be able to play in this game. They don't have great depth. And Willian has not been creating chances in the same way he did last year. Plus, so much of last season was built on that great run of form by Manor Solomon, who's now at Tottenham. So all sorts of issues. In another year, they'd be in relegation trouble. In this year, they will not be. In terms of Wolves, really impressed by what they have done at points this season. I think Gary O'Neill is a very good manager, as we've discussed at length previously. I think the players believe in him. I think he does the basics really well. I think he's encouraged people like Hwang Hee-chan and Pedro Neto, sadly injured for this one, Neto, to play above themselves, to create a system to get the best out of them. It's good coaching. It's good organisation. And I think that's what Gary O'Neill has brought to them. So, look, low scoring, right? I think there's not going to be many goals in this game. Wolves still don't quite have a 2, 3, 4 goals in them kind of team. And I mentioned already Fulham's lack of goal-scoring options. So, number one, screams draw, 3.48. Number two, goalless at half-time. I think it'll be very tetchy and taut in the first half. Goalless at half-time brings you in at 2.75. I just liked it. It stood out to me, so I'm going to take it. I think Wolves will win as the game goes on. Half-time draw, Wolves win 7. Really, really nice for that. I can really see that. Wolves getting stronger as the game goes on, as Fulham flounder. And there's a nice group bet. You know I like my group bets. 1-0, 2-0, 2-1 Wolves at 4. There's some nice money to be made on a Wolves victory here.
All right, this is the last game. Chinonso is going for Wolves, both teams to score. Gaurab under 2.5 goals. You see, we have better games in this Premier League match day than France, Gibraltar, Spain, Georgia, Cyprus, Spain, and all the England, Malta, for instance, all these crappy games we've been watching during the international break, apart from Brazil, Argentina, and some others that were good. I'm not saying that. Well, Tom, tell me your safe bet.
Not many safe bets around this weekend, I've got to say.
No.
It's a very close weekend. So I have picked out the safest of the bets. Arsenal to win against Brentford. It's a risk. It's not the safest thing I've ever brought you, but 1.82 for Arsenal, the lowest odds of any Premier League team this weekend. That looks the safest, so I'm taking it.
Indeed, we haven't mentioned this, but probably is the only match day in this Premier League. So the lowest odds are Man City to win, 1.77, and Arsenal to win, 1.82. This is very high, actually. So there are no safe bets going for the outright market in this Premier League match day. Tom and Yoraka?
I'm just doing a double this week because I keep getting let down by one of the three. It's annoying me. So the double I've gone for, risky though it is in this very tough weekend, Villa to win and Arsenal to win is 5.3. Really good odds for two results, two of the most likely results of the weekend, but it's a very tough weekend.
Good luck to everyone. Tom, with your nice jumper, go and enjoy the movie. Goodbye, everyone. Enjoy the Premier League.